I can't do this anymore.
If your wife were dying and you didn't have enough money to save her, what would you do? Would you compromise your principles and morals to help an evil organization dispose of dead bodies? Is it worth it? If yes, how would you get away with it? Adios is a first-person narrative-focused game with minimal, conventional gameplay. Although players can always interact with the environment and make some dialogue choices, the main focus is on observing and listening to the conversations between the farmer and the hitman. Some might argue that this makes Adios less of a game, similar to visual novels, but I believe it wouldn't be as impactful as a short film. The story centers on a pig farmer who decides to stop helping the mob dispose of bodies. He spends a day discussing this decision with his old friend, the hitman who has been bringing him the corpses and money for their disposal. The hitman warns the farmer that the mob doesn't accept resignations or retirements, and that quitting would mean his death. Throughout the day, they talk about this choice, but it remains non-negotiable. The farmer is unwavering, and the hitman cannot offer amnesty. They spend the day together, doing chores and trying to understand each other's decisions. The first-person perspective effectively establishes an immediate connection between the player and the character, and interacting with numerous objects in the environment makes the farmer's home feel authentic. Without giving away too much, the game uses dialogue choices in a way that reveals much about the farmer, something a non-interactive medium couldn't achieve. So, what do you do in the game aside from talking? Farm chores. As you guide the hitman around the farm, you will milk goats, shovel manure, fix a car, eat breakfast, shoot a shotgun, and more. While these tasks may seem simple and can be somewhat clunky, the main focus is on the conversations, which are captivating, well-written, and well-acted. The hitman has the most compelling character arc. He starts by trying to defuse the situation with friendly chatter, and gradually makes more pointed suggestions for alternatives to quitting. The talkative farmer responds with lectures on his various fixations, from the nobility of horses to the tragic fate of the American chestnut tree and the meaning of fixing machinery. Eventually, the hitman snaps, leading to a brief but pivotal eruption. He stops trying to cajole the farmer and directly confronts him, highlighting the ramifications of his decision and the burden he places on his friend to act as his executioner. This scene recontextualizes the hitman's role, showing him not as a menacing antagonist, but as someone desperately trying to save his friend. This outburst shifts the game's focus from suspense to themes of regret and despair, raising interesting questions about the character's motivations and feelings. The hitman's central question, why, becomes increasingly complex. What starts as a crisis of conscience becomes less noble with each conversation, suggesting that the mafia and the dead bodies might be secondary to the real story. What's fascinating about Adios is the shifting power dynamic between the two men, despite knowing from the start that one will ultimately kill the other. At times, they reminisce like old friends, while in other scenes, especially towards the end, the farmer treats his killer as a sort of confessor. One profound scene revolves around the farmer's prized chestnut tree, which he asks the mobster to protect after he's gone. In these moments, it feels like the farmer is speaking to a loved one on his deathbed, rather than the person who will be responsible for his death. One unique aspect of Adios is its handling of the dialogue tree. Early on, players have several dialogue options, adding a small sense of agency, but not affecting the story. Later, only one dialogue option is available, while the other choices represent things the farmer is thinking but doesn't say. This clever approach provides insight into the character's mind. Adios is a contemplative experience that will stay with me for a long time. While it's a better story than a game, it serves as a great proof of concept for larger stories in the interactive theatre genre. Instead of being a one-dimensional story about a man with nothing left to live for, Adios uses concise conversations to flesh out the character, humanize him, and give meaning to his death. This is impressive for a game that lasts just an hour, but Adios handles it beautifully,